Hey guys, coming to you again from the English planning room. Today's Mr. Week's last day, so this will be the last time I'm recording from here. So today I'm talking to you about immigration and urbanization. On here I included the Statue of Liberty because, she represents immigration as people come through Ellis Island, and that lovely poem that she has at her pedestal, all about immigration and kind of the mentality of immigration at this time. And then I also included a colorized image of New York City and Little Italy at this time, just to kind of give you an image of what the city looked like. And when I talk about all the the hubbub that's happening and how gross things are, really just kind of puts it in perspective. Okay, so we need to talk about immigration. We need to talk about the newcomers from Europe at this particular point. So prior to the 1840s, a lot of our immigration is going to be coming from Western Europe. When I'm talking about Western Europe, I mean this area. I mean Ireland, England, France, Germany, places like that. It is going to start to shift during this time period to being more Southern and Eastern Europe. So you're going to see that there are more immigrants coming from Italy. There's going to be more Greek immigrants. More people from Russia, Poland especially, and Hungary. Those are going to be increasing population. So there's a shift in immigration, and that's going to be seen in the backlash of the nativist ideas towards the immigrant population that's happening. The immigrants that are coming over, they're going to be traveling on a 10 to 20 day voyage in steerage passenger ships. Some of them might be in upper classes, but generally they're in steerage. So very tight quarters, really gross, a lot of disease, not good times. They're going to then arrive into America, the United States, and they are going to travel through different ports. That will then allow them to come into the United States. A lot of immigrants are going to travel through Ellis Island to where the Statue of Liberty generally is, and they're going to have to then go through Ellis Island. As they go through Ellis Island, they are going to have to answer a series of questions about, what are they going to do here? What are their jobs? What are their marketable skills? Who are they going to live with? Things like that. They're going to go through a medical examination and all these different things. And then a lot of people then are going to move on to wherever their final destination is. Some people are going to be sojourners, meaning they are going to plan to work, save, and then return back home. But only about 1/3 of the immigrants that come over to the United States at this time are actually going to return back to their homeland. You are going to see the immigrants that are coming over at this particular point in history are coming over because of political unrest that is happening in their different European towns and cities and countries at this point. And then you're also going to have religious discrimination, especially in Russia, against Jews that is happening at this particular point in history. So there's a lot of restrictions that are happening that are causing people to be looking for new opportunities, or they're looking for the financial opportunities that they have coming to the United States with industrialization and all the jobs that we have here. Okay, so another group that we have coming over are going to be our Asian immigrants, our Asian Americans. So our first Chinese immigrants are coming over in about the 1840s in order to participate in the gold rush. And initially they're going to be filling our low-wage jobs here in the United States. And as there are more Asian American immigrants coming over, and as there's more Chinese people coming over, same population pretty much, there is going to be an increase in discrimination against Asian Americans and immigrants, and then there's going to be more of a nativist backlash, and that's also going to be increasing. There's going to be economic depression that happens in the 1870s in California, and this is going to increase the nativist feel that's happening in the United States at this point in time. And in California, they're actually literally going to go through Chinatown, and they're going to burn down parts of it. They're going to beat up people. They're going to murder Chinese people. So a lot of nativist backlash is happening at this point in time. Eventually, Chinese immigrants that are here and other Asian American immigrants are going to build up profitable business, but they're going to be filling up the spots in society and economics that are not being filled by native-born Americans. And so that means that they're going to be left largely owning restaurants and laundries, and that is going to be a lot of the Asian American business for quite a while. Okay. So then this is going to lead us to the Chinese Exclusion Act. This is going to be passed due to political pressure. It's passed in 1882, and this is going to bar people who are of Asian descent that are in the lower ranks of society. So if you're just a worker or laborer or something like that, you're not going to be allowed to enter the United States. So we only let in the top of society. doctors, lawyers, things like that. And this isn't repealed until 1943, just to put that in perspective. It's going to tighten every single decade, that they get more and more restrictive about what population of Asian immigrants that they're letting into the United States. Eventually, after the turn of the century, after 1900, they are going to start restricting in 1906 Korean and Japanese immigrants as well. They make it so they're not even eligible to gain citizenship. You're going to see that the Chinese are going to be viewed as the nation's first illegal immigrants. All right, so as immigrants are coming over to the United States, they're going to be bringing with them their culture, their way of life, and one part of that is going to be their immigrant faith. So a large number of people who are coming into the United States at this point in history from Europe are going to be Catholics, and they're going to be Jews. And they're going to lead to a lot of questioning of whether immigrants should adopt the faiths of the American Protestantism, or if they should establish their own parishes in their own native-born ideas. So that's where you start to get like Irish Catholic, Italian Catholic, Polish Catholic churches. You're going to have native-born Jews, or native-born American Jews, are going to embrace the Reformed Judaism that is being brought over. You're going to see an increase in kosher practices and services being conducted in traditional Hebrew and things like that. And they're going to have Orthodox synagogues that will be established as well. And so practices are going to be brought over and established and created kind of more of that diverse field that's happening in religion at this point in time. You're going to see Protestantism is going to kind of push back against the increasing pressure from the different religions that are coming over with the immigrants. So just to reiterate, if you remember, there was that split in the church that we have our Catholics and our Protestants when Henry VIII wanted to divorce his wife and it wasn't working out so well. So we have that split in the church, and Protestantism is going to lead to a lot of different types of Christianity that branch off of that. Lutherans, Methodists, pretty much anything you think, Baptists, all of that is going to come off of Protestantism. So that is what I talk about when I say Protestantism. You're going to see the Protestants in America, of her native-born Americans, are going to be trying to evangelize and spread their beliefs and ideas, and trying to like use their actions to have people convert to their ideas. They're going to be using that in this thing called social gospel. They're trying to reveal their faith and have people convert to their ideas through public welfare and social justice efforts, trying to give back to society. And one of the ways you see that is the establishment of the Salvation Army. So there's people that you see like outside of like Walmart this time of year, like ringing bells, trying to get you donating money. Salvation Army started during this time. Okay, so with immigrants, we have our nativist backlash. And that push in politics and legislation and all that. But we also are going to have the movement for social settlements. Social settlements are going to be a movement that is going to try to investigate the plight of the urban poor, raise funds to address their urgent needs, and help neighborhood residents to advocate for their own behalf. And so these are largely measures that are helping people to help themselves in some way, providing services for them. And these are going to be in more ethnic neighborhoods, so it's going to be largely helping immigrants at this time. There's going to be, at this era, dozens of social settlements all across the United States. The most famous one is Hull House, which still stands today, in the west side of Chicago. It started in 1889 by Jane Addams. It's Addams with 2 Ds. These social settlements provide a variety of services. Employment counseling, so helping you get a job, medical clinics. They're really big in helping to promote vaccinations as they first begin. Daycare centers, athletic facilities. The YMCA is started in conjunction with these social settlements. The Young Men's Christian Association is what that stands for. You're going to see that they have a bathhouse, they have a playground, they have a kindergarten, they have some of them have libraries, gyms, penny savings banks, cooperative kitchens, English classes, all sorts of different things in order to try to provide for the community and trying to help them to move forward. This is going to allow for these parts of the cities to allow for lobbying in order to get change, but the focus of these social settlements is assimilation of the immigrant populations, of allowing them to adopt the American customs and way of life, and being able to kind of shed that ethnic identity that they brought with them to become more native born American, more white American, so to speak. Okay, so analysis questions. I want you to tell me, how is the immigration population shifting during this time period? So who are the new immigrants coming during this time versus, like, I don't know, that we saw in the colonial era? Where are they coming from? Why are they coming? Stuff like that. What are they bringing with them? And then how is the concept of nativism and assimilation seen in the legislation in reaction to the new immigrants? Literally talked all about that. So just tell me, how are we seeing it? Okay. So the city is growing up in a big way during this era. And one of those things we're going to see is mass transit. So mass transit is going to be railroads and trolley systems and subways eventually. So as the cities grow larger, the technology is going to assist residents and visitors with travel. You're going to see an electric trolley system will be established in Richmond, Virginia. Then Chicago and New York are going to start with elevated railroads. And then Boston is going to create an underground line in 1897, so kind of like a subway. The railroads then are contribute to the growth of the suburbs that are on the outskirts of the cities, that you're just a short train ride away, and then you can be into the city for work or whatever it might be, that you can live, if you're wealthy enough, live outside the city but commute in order to work. So you kind of see that the upper middle class idea will be established. You're going to see that telephones are going to be contributing to this as well, that are going to be connecting our suburban area with our city area. This is a picture of the subway in New York City shortly after it was, well, not picture, sorry, illustration shortly after it was established. If I remember right, the subway in New York City was created in like 1904, 1906, somewhere in there. I'm pretty sure London has the oldest subway system in the entire world. But you're going to see that vast network will be created in connecting the city and connecting it a little bit to its outskirts. Okay, so we're also going to see the creation of skyscrapers. I know this really doesn't seem like a huge deal at this point, but it really is, because this allows us to build up and maximize vertical space instead of horizontal space, and that is going to allow cities to just boom in their growth, businesses, and population. So steel, glass, and elevators are going to change the world of building. The Bessemer process allows for steel that is going to allow for a stronger building material. You're going to see that skyscrapers are expensive, but they're good use of a small amount of land. The first skyscraper that we see is a 10-story home insurance building in 1885, which, 10 stories, again, doesn't seem that impressive, but for this era, it really is. And it was built in Chicago, which was super duper impressive, because Chicago has like a weird soil that's like a little bit sandy, and it's a little bit more difficult for engineering purposes. Okay, so then we have electricity. Woohoo! So gas lamps are going to be too dim to brighten the city streets, but the invention of the iridescent light bulb in 1879, invented by Thomas Edison / Nikola Tesla, is going to change city life. Night is now going to be illuminated, which is going to make urban life appear safer and more appealing. It's going to allow nighttime to just be a brighter existence. You no longer just have to go to sleep or stay home. And this is a picture from the, oh, you can't see that arrow. This is a picture from the Chicago World's Fair, and that's just showing you the amount of electricity that was used to show how awesome we were and like what great things we were doing. Okay. So our newcomers and their neighborhoods. So our immigrant populations, as they're coming over, are going to be creating ethnic neighborhoods. These ethnic neighborhoods are going to spring up everywhere. There is like a Little Italy and a Chinatown. In Baltimore, we have a rather large Polish population, and there was like I don't remember what they called it, like Little Poland, something like that. So they are going to establish ethnic neighborhoods where they are going to be having churches, shops, and schools, and newspapers that meet their cultural needs, things in their own languages, foods that are reminding them of home, and they're going to be bringing over with them their culture, and just have this like little mini like sight into who they are and what they're doing and all that. You're going to see that some cities and areas start to get more dominated by certain ethnic groups versus others. A lot of Irish are going to settle into the Boston, Massachusetts area. A lot of Swedes go to Minneapolis, I'm guessing because it's cold. And a lot of Italians then are going to come into northeastern area and the mid-Atlantic cities. During this time, we're also going to have a push into what's called the Great Migration. And this is going to be an ever-increasing movement that's going to happen, but African Americans are going to be 90% at the turn of the century, 1900, of African Americans are living in the South. But many are moving from rural to urban areas to cities because there's opportunity that they want. There's economic opportunity, and there's a little less discrimination in the North and in the cities. Not amazing, but it's a little less, so they're into that. You're going to see they're going to still face discrimination and violence. Race riots are going to occur in several different cities: New York City, Evansville, Indiana, Springfield, Illinois, Chicago, right around 1900 into like 1905, 1908. So it's going to be quite a time in the United States. And so we're going to have those ethnic neighborhoods and then African American populations that are going to be moving in the Great Migration. Okay. So as people are coming into the cities, if you are not a rich person, you're probably moving into a tenement. A tenement is a 5 or 6 story building that's going to provide cheap housing for 20 or more families. That's bananas, okay? I wish I had included a picture of what a tenement looks like on the outside, but that's like the nondescript building that just has like a bunch of fire escapes on the outside. That's pretty much what a tenement looks like on the outside. And they are going to be cramped, airless apartments that are going to force people into a tiny, tiny space. Like from here to here is 50 feet. And just to put that in perspective, 50 feet is as long as a tractor trailer. So you have half of that, and a quarter of that is all for you and your entire family. And that's just like your immediate family, but like probably your extended family too. So there's a lot of disease. There's a high infant mortality. They catch fire a lot. They're really disgusting. Just real gross. But you're going to see that they are going to lead to New York's Tenement House Law of 1901. That's going to require interior courts, indoor toilets, and fire safety measures for these new buildings. Okay, city culture during this time. You are going to see that we're going to have the rise of kind of the attraction of cities. So we're going to have things of our urban amusements. We're going to have vaudeville theater that's going to rise during this time, that you could pay a cheap-ish amount in order to go watch a live show. It's going to appeal to people of all social classes. So you could pay a nickel to go to the movies, and the movie theaters at this time are like silent movies with a live band. You are going to see that there is... Sorry, people keep walking. I'll give that a pause. Okay, so there is going to be an increase in amusement parks. So we're going to see things like Coney Island will be created during this time. People are going to be, riding roller coasters and going to eat and dance and have a good time. We're going to see a new musical genre that will be increasing this time. We're going to see ragtime music that is going to be played by African American musicians in a ragged rhythm. It's going to become extremely popular amongst audiences of all classes and races. It's going to lead to an infectious rhythm all across the United States that is going to have a really big break in like Victorian hymns and parlor songs, like kind of like your uptight stuff. And then you have people listening to ragtime getting rockety. Scott Joplin's going to become a really famous performer, and New York is going to have more than 500 dance halls by 1910. The blues is going to become popular in New York City, and this is going to be taken from African American folk music, and the blues is then going to lead to such movements as jazz and rock and roll, folks. Okay, so you are also going to see Sex and the City are going to be becoming tied here at this point, not just a show. So because of the amusement parks and theaters and things like that, there's going to be more opportunities than previous generations for kids and teenagers and young adults to have less parental supervision as they're going out and having amusements of sorts. You're going to see that they're going to be dating more, and some of that dating is going to happen without an adult supervisor, and so that's going to lead to an increase of pretty intense behavior amongst these people, and you're going to see kind of this idea of lewd behavior is going to begin, and it's going to develop more over time. Okay, you're going to see high culture is also going to develop during this time, and a lot of it is due to our business owners, our big monopoly owners, and all the money that they give in order to support these systems. So art and natural history museums will spring up. Libraries and symphonies are going to spring up as well from the wealthy patrons and the donors. For example, Andrew Carnegie is going to donate $3.7 million in order to have libraries nationwide all across different cities. You're going to see urban journalism is going to become big at this point as well, that this is going to be an increased interest in order to read about human stories. So newspapers are going to report on things like sports and fashion and high society, what people of certain like social standing are doing. And you're going to see that they're going to be trying to have more mass marketing, trying to get more people to buy their newspapers and just trying to draw more attention to them. We're also going to have political machines. The most famous of that political machine is going to be Tammany Hall. So a political machine is a well-organized political party organization that is going to be people who are running a city government but are not actually elected officials. So it's really hard to remove someone from power and making choices for you when they're not actually even elected. They're oftentimes very corrupt. The middle class is going to view them as very corrupt. You're going to see that the Tammany Society is called Tammany Hall because Tammany Hall, that's where they meet in New York City's Tammany Hall. They're led by George Washington Plunkett, which is a fantastic name. He's going to make deals for city contracts and services. He is going to, make ties with people and promise people things and get immigrants in to vote in order to do things and promising them jobs and just all sorts of things. It just was not amazing times. So all around not good. So political machines are something that are going to be addressed when we get to the progressives in the progressive era and trying to break those up. You're going to see that these political machines are going to get some pretty good things done fairly quickly in order to make people happy about like things like parks and like markets and having clean water and things like that. But largely the areas of the cities are also going to be getting more impoverished, which is not amazing. And they're going to be increasing some other problems in the city. Okay. So now I just want you to describe for me what life in the city is like at this particular moment in history. How would you describe it? What are the big points of it? If you have questions, please do not hesitate to see me during key time, to come to me before or after school, to put your question on a motto, email it to me, put it on this homework sheet, or just to ask it in class because someone else might have the same question as you. I hope you enjoyed this beautiful lecture.